Some of the most illustrious NBA dynasties start way back to the 1960s Boston Celtics. Bill Russell, 11 rings in 13 seasons, the winningest player of all of professional sports. The next dynasty didn't occur for an entire decade. The Magic and Bird 1980s era truly ignited what true rivalry is all about. 8 titles between LA and Boston in the 80s, followed by Michael Jordan's Unstoppables, then San Antonio's Tim Duncan, Shaq and Kobe's Lakers. A couple super teams formed in the 2010s, to the most recent NBA champion Golden State Warriors becoming the 8th youngest team to win it all in 2015. The next NBA dynasty still undecided, with plenty of teams able to compete for titles. This could just be like the 70s. How's it going, guys? My name's Wilson. Let's take a look at young NBA teams who made the finals, some of whom even pulled off a title and were supposed to be unstoppable for a decade, but what actually happened? Let's find out. Starting with the 1971 Milwaukee Bucks, the fastest expansion team to win a title in just his 3rd season, the 6th youngest team all time to win it all. The luck of the infamous 1969 coin flip ended up with the most anticipated prospect the league has ever seen. Bucks' first ever season finished 27-55, the 2nd worst team behind the Suns. The up-and-coming franchise with the UCLA prodigy Lou Alcindor turned the team around by himself, averaged nearly 29-15 as a rookie, a 29-game turnaround, but Kareem wasn't the only young star the team had. Also drafting 45th pick Bobby Danrich out of Norfolk State, an eventual Hall of Famer, the Bucks weren't supposed to be competing for a title this quickly, especially with the loaded Knicks and Lakers. Went on to beat the Sixers and falling to the Knicks. Jabbar's first ever postseason, numbers of over 35 a game, 17 rebounds, already showing signs as the best player in the game, but needed better teammates and more help, which led to the acquisition of all-time great Oscar Robertson, who clashed heads with head coach Bob Cousy, traded for Flynn Robinson and Charlie Paulk. The team finished with the best record by a 14-game margin, including a 20-game win streak at one point, an all-time record before the 72 Lakers won 33 straight. Kareem became the league's MVP at age 23. Robertson averaged 28-6, Danrich over 18-8, steamrolled through the competition, 12-2 playoff record, knocking off San Francisco, Will Chamberlain's Lakers without Wes and Elgin, and sweeping the Baltimore Bullets in the finals. Jabbar averaged 27, 18.5 rebounds in the final sweep. Oscar 23.5 points, 9.5 dimes, forming an unstoppable duo. Danrich around 20 and 10. With the Lakers aging and the other young stars no match for Kareem, Jabbar was viewed the next Bill Russell, but 10 times better offensively. Even an old SI article written November of 71 labeled the Bucks the finest basketball team ever, over the top pro teams in any sport at the time. But the 1972 Lakers happened. With revolutionary offensive-minded head coach Bill Sharman, LA won 69 games, best record the league's seen since the 96 Bulls. Jabbar, however, unstoppable numbers of 35 points, 17 rebounds, perhaps his best individual season, won his 2nd MVP, would fall to the Lakers conference finals in 6 games. Oscar, a shell of himself, averaged just 9 points, 5 and 5. Father time creeped in. The following season, 60 wins. Danrich became the 2nd best player. Lucius Allen, Curtis Perry, and John McLaughlin. A solid squad, but Robertson declined too much. Kareem struggled in the playoffs, lost in 6 to Rick Barry's Warriors. Credit to defensive big man Nate Thurman. Jabbar also dealt with tragedy in the property he brought in Washington, D.C., involving people killed in a home invasion. But we're not going to get into all that. 1974, 59 wins, had home court versus Boston in the finals, not without injuries to point guard Lucius Allen, averaged nearly 18 points a game. Oscar averaged just a dozen points, 2 of 13 shooting in the final game of his career, 15-point Game 7 loss at home. Kareem became furious with the franchise. Bucks failed to make the playoffs the following year. Jabbar missed the first 16 games of the 75 season, breaking his hand, 38 wins total, ending the Jabbar Bucks era, traded to the Lakers that offseason. Golden State Warriors 1975. One of the biggest carry jobs thanks to superstar Rick Barry, the 7th youngest team all time to win a title. At 26 years and 3 months old, the team went 48-34, 4th best record. Jamal Wilkes, 2nd leading scorer at 15 a game. Butch Beard, Charles Johnson, the other 2 in double figures, knocked off the Sonics and Bulls. Many didn't give Golden State a chance against the heavy favorite Washington Bullets. 60 wins led by Wes Unseld and Elvin Hayes. Barry balled out. Dubs went on to sweep Washington Washington, all by single digits, including winning games 2 and 4 by a single point. Team went on to win 59 games the following season, the favorites to win it all. The only person that could have stopped Rick Barry's greatness was Barry's own temper himself, a huge reputation of being a hothead, even disliked by teammates. Phil Smith and Wills took big leaps, 20 and 18-point average. Barry went from 30 a game to 21. SI writer Frank DeFord wrote an article on the Warriors being near perfectly constructed, led by head coach Al Attles, beat the Pistons in 6, but ran into trouble versus the 42-win Phoenix Suns, lost Game 4 in double OT, gave up a clutch drive to Alvin Adams Game 6, then the altercation Game 7, changed the legacy of Rick Barry's career after getting into a fight with Ricky Sobers. None of Rick's teammates came to his defense. Barry watched the tape at halftime, absolutely furious, refused to shoot in the second half, sabotaging his team. 4 points the last 2 quarters. Golden State outscored by 16 the final 24 minutes, causing them a trip to the finals with Boston. In 77, Barry was 32 years old. Team won 46 games, fell to Kareem's Lakers in the semis, failed postseason in 78. Barry then signed with Houston. If it wasn't for Rick being a mean teammate, Golden State would have won in 76 and contended more in 77. Speaking of 77, how about Blazer Mania? Still to this day, the youngest age average to win a title, the Portland Trailblazers, 24 years and under 2 months old, an expansion team in 1970, no playoff appearance, had big names in Jeff Petrie, Sidney Wicks. The season prior, first overall pick Bill Walton, first 2 seasons super injury prone, hasn't broken out despite being a college superstar, had Kareem level hype. In 76, the team traded for power forward Maurice Lucas for Petrie, who was hurt at the time, ended up never playing another NBA game again. Lucas brought leadership and toughness as a big power forward, always having his team's back, would pay off heavily in the finals. Portland finished with 49 wins, considered no match versus David Thompson's Nuggets and Jabbar's Lakers, shocked them both, including a sweep of LA in the conference finals. Walton being the only Hall of Famer on the roster, road guys Bobby Gross, Herb Gilliam, Lionel Hollins, and Dave Tarzik all contributed, but laughed at when matched up by Julius Erving's Sixers, having ABA legend George McGinnis, #1 pick Doug Collins, physical specimen Daryl Dawkins, and World B. Free. But after a fight late Game 2, the turning point of the series, Blazers more focused than ever, Walton simply dominated, success built on teamwork, played like Jokic before Jokic, the best rebounder, defender, shot blocker, and passing center in the game, did the improbable, having all the confidence in the world, winning 4 straight versus Philly. Following season, rolled through their competition, 50 and 10 through 60 games with Walton healthy, just able to play 58. SI wrote an article titled, "Portland's not just running away from everybody in the NBA, it's mounting an assault on the record books as well, anticipated to be the next dynasty before Walton's injuries, missed the rest of the regular season, team finished 8 and 14 without him, took painkiller injection, with the organization knowing he possibly broken his ankle, sent him out to play anyway first round of the playoffs, insane pain on the ground. Game 2 could have aggravated and deepened the damage, leading to an unrecoverable fallout. Walton angrily demanded a trade, blamed the team doctors for misusing the painkillers, felt misled, missed the entire 79 season, sued the franchise, spent time with the San Diego Clippers, injury prone ever since, rejuvenated himself with the 86 Celtics, but near retirement at that point. Many believe Walton would have been a top 10 player all time. Without the injuries, Blazers were supposed to be winning at least 2 more titles. Had his body held up, Bill Walton's Blazers could have truly been a dynasty leading up to the Magic Bird era. Houston Rockets 1981, led by 25-year-old Moses Malone, 25-year-old Robert Reed, 26-year-old Mike Dunleavy, and vets Calvin Murphy and Rudy Tomjanovich, both on the decline stage. Considered middle of the pack, just a 40 and 42 record. Rudy played 31 minutes of playoff ball. Roster became thin. First round, best of 3 series. The 81 Rockets, mostly about young Moses carrying the franchise on his shoulder. A 31 and 23 game 1 win. Rockets knocked out the defending champs 2-1. Malone averaged 31 and 18 for the series, imposed his will on George Gervin's Spurs, put up 28 and 12, winning in 7. Old man Murphy stepped up huge, averaged 25 for that series. The conference finals, an easy cakewalk over the Kansas Kings, and not a 40 and 42 team who upsetted the top seed Phoenix Suns. Malone put up 27 and 15, winning an easy 5-game series. Kansas City, no Hall of Famers, but Houston, no chance against Bird Celtics, held Moses to just 22 a game on 40% shooting. Series over in 6, perhaps the biggest Cinderella playoff run, only team in the last 60 years to make the finals under 500. The following year, Malone won his second MVP. averaged 31 and 15, acquired 36-year-old Elvin Hayes, 46 wins, but lost to Seattle round 1. Malone then became a free agent, wanted big money. Houston didn't want to pay him. Franchise decided to sign and trade the best player in the league to the defending Eastern Conference champs. Rockets got back an agent, Caldwell Jones, and a first in return. The team flat out went all tank mode following season, which led to back-to-back #1 draft picks, Ralph Sampson and Hakeem Olajuwon, transitioning to the 1986 Houston Rockets. The Twin Towers, Sampson's third full season, Hakeem's second year, generational talents. The duo both put up 20 and 10 with ease. 22-year-old Hakeem at center, Sampson the power forward with 7'4" guard-like skills, 48 wins, falling to prime Adrian Dantley's Jazz. But by year 2, the team had the 5th highest preseason title odds, but Showtime appeared untouchable in the West. Magic just entering his prime, it appeared the Twin Towers needed to wait till the end of the decade to truly compete. Dream became the first option, averaged nearly 24 and 12, alongside 24-year-old Rodney McRae, the future pick in the Moses trade, 26-year-old Lewis Lloyd, 26-year-old Mitchell Wiggins, 30-year-old Robert Reed, and 32-year-old John Lucas. Made quick work for round 1 versus Sacramento. Knocked off Alex English Nuggets in 6, thanks to Hakeem and Sampson putting up superstar video game-like numbers. Then against the 4-time defending Western Conference champion Lakers, 62 wins. Jabbar made first team over Hakeem, gave the 23-year-old motivation. Game 1, LA won convincingly, but Hakeem had enough, took matters to his own hands after trailing early, proved he was more than ready for big playoff moments. 22 big points, 13 boards, 4 steals, and 6 blocks game 2, tying the series. Dream literally brought Showtime on their knees, absolutely destroyed, abused, annihilated, and humiliated the 39-year-old Jabbar. A 40-point 12-rebound game 3, Lloyd had 26, then a 35-point game 4. LA had no defense for the second-year phenom. The Twin Towers gave the 7-2 Jabbar trouble on both ends. Dream gave the Rockets heavy confidence. Sampson and Hakeem 30 and 29 points game 5. Every starter scored double figures. Hakeem ejected for fighting in the 4th, but the hot Sampson closed out the series in one of the most miraculous game winners you'll ever see. There's a reason why the Lakers ended up getting Michael Thompson that offseason. The Twin Towers unfortunately ran into an all-time great Celtics team led by Bird and McHale in their primes. DJ, Ainge, Parrish, and Walton had the size to match up. McHale got the best of Hakeem. The loss of point guard John Lucas for a failed drug test, Houston would have ended up losing anyway at full strength, but taking the 67 Celtics to 6 games, very promising future. But the tragedy of Sampson's body breaking down, missing half of the 87 season, Lloyd and Wiggins both banned for drug use, both combined for nearly 24 points a game. If it wasn't for these players getting into trouble, Hakeem's Rockets would have been a dynasty. The next couple seasons highly disappointing. Second round loss to the Sonics, Hakeem playing by himself out there, then lost round 1 4 straight years from 88 to 91, demanded out before staying put, eventually becoming a 2-time champ. One of the most underrated turnaround stories. If this was summer of 1986, if one was to ask you who would win more championships between Michael Jordan or Hakeem, over 90% at that very moment would have responded with Hakeem, getting all the way to the finals in his second season before Sampson's injuries. Olajuwon could have been in the top 5 all-time discussion. 1995 Orlando Magic, 23-year-old Shaq, 23-year-old Penny. After being an expansion team for the 89-90 season, the team landed back-to-back #1 picks. Generational superstar Shaq in 92, nearly doubling the amount of wins, having a 1.5% chance at landing the first pick with a 500 record. Orlando did the near impossible, trading Chris Webber for third pick Anthony Hardaway and 3 future picks, forming the most promising young tandem. 50 wins and a playoff berth. By 95, signed Horace Grant, giving the team championship pedigree. Lethal outside shooting of Nick Anderson, Dennis Scott, and Brian Shaw. 57 wins. Penny made first team All-NBA in just year 2, beat 8-seeded Boston, then a second round huge test against MJ's second stint comeback with the Bulls. But this time Horace Grant was on Orlando's side. Chicago's interior 2 din, with Kukoc starting the 4, Grant and O'Neal 2 big down low. Anderson a clutch steal on MJ in game 1 led to Penny dime to Grant's flush. winning 94-91. Orlando won Game 6 on the road. Anderson, Scott, Shaq, and Penny combined for 87 points. Rusty Jordan just 24, knocked off Reggie Miller's Pacers in 7, but got swept by Hakeem's Rockets. Nick Anderson's choke job still haunts the Magic franchise to this day, but a super promising future. Considered a future dynasty. Many question whether Jordan's Bulls were finished, but after acquiring Ron Harper and Dennis Rodman, Jordan proved why the NBA was still his league. Orlando won 60 games the following year, swept under the rug. Shaq missed 30 games with injury. Penny, MVP candidate, beat Detroit and Atlanta before getting swept by the Bulls conference finals. Grant and Anderson had injuries. Hardaway hurt his knee in round 1. That loss to Chicago shockingly ended the Shaq Penny era. Orlando didn't offer Shaq enough money for free agency, leading the 24-year-old to sign with the Lakers. Magic's title hopes instantly vanished. Hardaway's body then betrayed him, became super injury prone after, a huge what if with many questions never to be answered. The 2012 Oklahoma City Thunder, Sam Presti a heck of a job rebuilding the team. Seattle traded Ray Allen, drafted franchise superstar Kevin Durant, then drafted Russ Westbrook at 4th overall the following year, slowly inching their way up, picked future superstar James Harden 3rd overall in 2009. The big three, all eventual MVP winners. Durant already a top 5 player by 21, 2nd in MVP, 50 wins in 2010, took the defending champion Lakers to a close 6, combined with the emergence of defensive specialist Serge Ibaka. Then 2011, Westbrook became a first-time All-Star. Team traded Jeff Green for experienced big man Kendrick Perkins, 55 wins, dominated the Nuggets, knocked off Memphis in 6, all the way to the conference finals against Red Hot Dirk 2011, falling in 5. The franchise young, energetic, skilled with loud fans, Chesapeake Arena, the loudest fan base at the time. 2012, Durant was in the conversation with LeBron as the best player, finished 2nd in MVP. Westbrook averaged nearly 24 a game, Harden at 17 points, won 6th Man of the Year, Ibaka 2nd for Defensive Player of the Year, finished 2nd place, swept Dallas, beat Kobe's Lakers, followed by coming back down 0-2 versus Red Hot San Antonio, the 3 Western Conference teams that dominated throughout the whole 2000s. The Young Thunder then became the title favorites to the odds maker, but their inexperience and weak bench resulted in a 5-game series loss to Miami. OKC didn't want to pay the luxury tax, decided to keep Ibaka over Harden, a couple million short of what the Beard wanted, traded to Houston, got back Kevin Martin, Jeremy Lamb, and a few picks, Steven Adams being the big one. Team still heavy contenders, but Russ out for round 2 of the 2013 playoffs. KD and Westbrook lost conference finals both 2014 and 16. No playoffs with Durant Hurf 2015. Too many what ifs. KD and Westbrook too ISO heavy. The two just never meant to be. Thanks so much for watching this video. For some of you longtime fans, which one of these young teams were you convinced was going to be the next dynasty? Let me know in the comments below. Love y'all. See you next time.